But there's also more subtle forms of discrimination where you're not invited for lunch or to an office social gathering, or where someone comments on your appearance or assumes that you were not born in Canada when you were. Things like that, which are called microaggressions, are often as debilitating as overt discrimination because you don't know if it's you or it's them. And we can talk more about that. There are also issues around systemic discrimination, where the policies and practices of the organization create disadvantages. And um, we recently did a study with Environics that showed that Black Canadians are the most likely to experience discrimination, and Black women face racial discrimination, but also gender-based discrimination. And this, you can see, illustrates it quite clearly, where 38% of Black respondents indicated that 38% of Black women indicated that they experienced discrimination compared to 28% of, or 30% of Black men for an overall percentage of 28%. And that is one of the highest experiences of discrimination that we were able to identify. I mentioned microaggressions, and these, as I said, are subtle interactions or comments that make people feel uncomfortable, like they don't belong. Sometimes they're compliments, and they may be intended as compliments or backhanded insults. So things like, your CEO here, what a surprise, as if you don't belong. How did you end up in this role? Where are you from? And one of the things that I never thought about this, but a number of Black women mentioned separately this to me, is people saying to them, "My, you're articulate." And the way that that lands is, "My, you're articulate for someone like you," because the expectation that's implied is that Black people are not articulate. So it's really important to recognize that racism appears in a variety of different ways. We also spent a lot of time looking at entrepreneurship, and I'm on the board of the Federation for African Canadian Economics, which is part of the Black entrepreneurship strategy and provides funding to Black entrepreneurs. And we know that there are barriers embedded at every layer in the system, particularly for Black women. We also know from talking to Black women, we did one of the largest studies of Black women entrepreneurs that's ever been done in Canada, 700 respondents. We know that some are pushed into entrepreneurship because of bad experiences in the workplace or exclusion from employment opportunities, or they can also be pulled into entrepreneurship because they see an opportunity, or they want to work for themselves, or they want more flexibility. But regardless of the reasons why Black women become entrepreneurs, um, almost 80% indicate they face barriers in financing and challenges in borrowing, as well as access to markets. We also have to recognize that discrimination has health impacts. And so when we think about the experiences of anti-Black racism, the experiences of gender-based discrimination, they not only have mental health impacts, but they also have physical health impacts. And Kwame McKenzie at the Wellesley Institute has documented this very well. In fact, people who experience discrimination can end up with post-traumatic stress disorder, and that then creates additional problems. So there's lots of focus increasingly on the need to address discrimination in the workplace because of these debilitating health impacts. The other thing, and this is a whole nother area we're working on, but looking at anti-Black racism in the healthcare system, I was really struck by this. Kwame McKenzie presented this at a recent conference, and it was COVID. So COVID was affecting the Black community in Toronto at 6 times the rate it was affecting the white community, and it reached 9 times in August of 2020. Kwame and others undertook a very targeted strategy to address the needs of the Black community, to ensure Black organizations served as intermediaries, and so on. And they were successful in bringing those infection rates down to 2 times the white population. Still 2 times the white population, but this for me is one of the clearest indications that bringing an anti-Black racism lens to everything that we do only helps us do a better job. Back to the business case. This is not about being woke. This is about doing our job. So when we look at what's needed, we really focus on the systems approach to change. And that means we have to think about the societal level, we have to think about organizational level, we have to think about individual factors that both embed anti-Black racism and strategies we can adopt to counter them. So think about entrepreneurship, for instance. This is a couple of years old, but we ran a Google search on entrepreneur Google image search, and this is what we got. A couple of racialized people, one Black person, the rest of them are white men and mostly from tech. No women, except some theoretical ones. So we have to really shift the narrative and focus on successful Black people in politics, in industry, in education, in healthcare. And our See It, Be It campaign is very much focused on trying to highlight the contributions of Black women in particular across different sectors. We also have to recognize that backlash is real, but a lot of it is constructed by what's going on in the United States. And Canadians still, for the most part, support equity, diversity, and inclusion. We have to also name racism for what it is, and the fact that we have a commander in chief in the United States who feels free to, make claims like immigrants eat dogs and cats really creates a very difficult environment to work in. But the good news is most Canadians still think focusing on equity, diversity, and inclusion is a good thing, and only 16% think it's a bad thing. Most Canadians think that their employer's approach to equity, diversity, and inclusion has had a positive impact. Only 12% think it's had a negative impact. And most Canadians think that their company still pays too little attention to EDI compared to others. So when we're looking at this, we really need to focus on a whole of organization approach. We have to look at governance, who's at the top, what are the messages? We have to look at human resources practices, who's being hired, who's being promoted, who's being recruited, who's being retained. We have to look at values and culture. We have to measure, because what gets measured gets done. We have to embed an equity, diversity, and inclusion lens into everything we do. If we're a healthcare provider, it's clinical practice, education, and service delivery, research. If it's education, same thing. If it's Starbucks, they have to look at who they're buying from, who they're selling to, and we have to build connections. And then at the individual level, we really have to promote inclusive leadership, and that means promoting and encouraging Black leaders and providing them with the supports they need to succeed. It also means countering bias among others and building allies. And I'm a big believer in thinking about privilege as more than just race, because of course white people have certain kinds of privilege, but so do rich people. So do heterosexual people. So do Christians. There are a whole range of ways in which people can have privilege, and we have to really focus on that. So we've developed a number of tools to really help advance understanding of anti-Black racism and how to combat it. And we're really pushing this narrative. This is not about wokeness. This is about good business practices. This is about building a better Canada. And, I love the Lake Ridge Health ad, which is a few years old now, but the idea that we don't care what's on your head, we care what's in it, I think is core to Brand Canada. Thank you very much. I now have a little bit of time for some questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cukier. I always look forward to your slides. They are very educative and they're very professionally done. And even without hearing you talk, one could make good sense of those slides. And
And
you,
you can have them. I'm happy to make them available if
oh,
you want to distribute them to the participants.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. Thank you. Um, of course, as you know, you always get questions.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm
So
looking. I'm
Oh,
looking
so
here.
some of them were sent to me directly,
Oh, okay.
just so not to distract people. So when it comes to me directly, I just focus on those ones. So
Okay.
if there's any other one from the chat, I'll pick them out, just so that I can read them out for you. So the first question is, of course, all the questions are directed at you. So who in particular does Diversity Institute serve?
Who does it serve?
Yeah, users
Uh,
of your service.
the Diversity Institute is a research center at Toronto Metropolitan University,
Right,
and we have about 80 full-time staff who work on different research projects and programs. So a big chunk of the work that we do through the Future Skills Center, for instance, is funded by the government. And our role is to ensure that the funding that is spent brings equity, diversity, and inclusion lens to it, and the needs of diverse populations are met, whether we're talking about AI and digital skills or language training or whatever the training programs are that are being offered. We also we have quite, Nancy Mitchell leads our consulting contract research. So we work with individual organizations on their equity, diversity, and inclusion strategies. We lead the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. Sabine Sumer supports that, and that's a focus on supporting women entrepreneurs, again, primarily with research and knowledge sharing. And Mohammed Almi, our executive director, oversees everything that we do, including the academic research and some of the training programs that we offer. So, for instance, right now we have a program led by Lorene Williams on uh, advanced digital and professional training for Black youth. So, that's targeted specifically at meeting the needs of Black youth. So, we
right.
deal with a lot of different groups.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Um, another question for you. What is TMZ and Diversity Institute doing to ensure the diversified communities are involved at the institute?
Well, we actually have the diverse, so there are different ways you can look at it. So you can look at representation, for instance, in our leadership. So our executive director is Black, the head of our consulting service identifies as Black, the head of the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub identifies as Black, and the head of some of our training programs identifies as Black. So the first step is we've got very strong, disproportionate Black representation in our leadership roles. We also partner with a wide range of Black-led organizations, including FACE, the Black Business Professional Association, the Lifelong Leadership Institute. There's a long list of those. So we work with um, uh, Black-led organizations. And then we always bring a gender and diversity lens to the research that we do. So if we're doing research on leadership, we will ask the question, what are the differences in the experiences of men versus women, people who are Black, people who are racialized, people who are Indigenous, and so on. So we
Right,
bring that lens to everything that we do.
right. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. You mentioned most of the people coming from Africa are highly educated and skilled. What is or can TMZ and Diversity Institute do to support these people to land and thrive?
So it's a really good question because we know that the challenges facing highly skilled immigrants are very different than the challenges facing third generation Black youth in in Brampton. So when it comes to immigrants in particular, or refugees, we work with both. Um, there, first off is making sure educational credentials are recognized. And that's why we work with some of the regulated professions like the engineers, the nurses, and so on, to try to make sure that the pathways for internationally educated professionals are better. And that's a really hard process because you have to work with government, but we've made some progress there. Second is making sure that newcomers understand the system because the system here is really different than the system in many other countries. And
Right.
it's still true in Canada that who you know is as important as what you know. You have to understand, like, what's a LinkedIn profile? How do you network? How do you engage with people? There are a lot of nuances to the cultural, even if English is your mother tongue, there are a lot of nuances to the culture, how time is approached, right? In some cultures, time is fairly flexible, but in other cultures, if you're late, that creates a really bad impression. The extent of formality, like when you call someone Mr. or Miss, stuff like that. So there's the cultural stuff. There's also networking, right? Because we know that having access to people, being mentored, sponsored, and supported is often key. So we do a lot of connecting of people, and then we do skills training. So we do skills training in AI, entrepreneurship, and other things that are for the Black community by, for the most part, the Black community. So that's something we also try to embed in all our work.
Awesome. Awesome. We are out of time, but there is a very important question I see in the Q&A segment, and that I would like you to quickly do justice to um, in 30 seconds.
Oh, if a Black woman has been unfairly treated or harassed by an unreasonable commercial landlord, unfair treatment to a Black woman, is your organization able to offer help? We don't get involved directly in that kind of advocacy. However, we did do a project with the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, which looked at both commercial and residential real estate. And there are mechanisms. So if someone, I put my email in the chat, if someone wants to reach out to me, I know people who might be able to assist you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Sukia. Who you know is as important as, anything else. So I know Lady Abba and I know Dr. Sukia, and then I know who they know. Thank you so much. So everyone, don't worry. We have some good networking sessions tomorrow, and you would have the opportunity to meet Dr. Sukia in person. No, yes, she doesn't go around with bodyguards. So we would have the opportunity to network with her and our other speakers tomorrow. Thank you so much, Dr. Sukia. It's been amazing learning from your wealth of experience and having you share those slides. We really do appreciate your time. Thank you so very much.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Dr. Sukair.
Thank you. All right. Our next speaker is on.